Greetings and welcome to our daily walk through the scripture for September the 7th. Your readings today find you starting the book of Isaiah in chapters 1 and 2, reading 2 Corinthians chapter 10, reading Psalm 52, 1 through 9, and Proverbs chapter 22, verses 26 through 27. Now, Isaiah begins a new section in the scriptures. It starts the prophets. Okay, so when we look at this, we're going to be looking starting from Isaiah all the way to Malachi. We're going to be reading about prophets. Now, the prophets are an interesting grouping of books because they are obviously prophetic in nature, but they also help fill in some of the pieces and the gaps of history. These are also happening at the same time as the First and Second Chronicles, First and Second Kings, and First and Second Samuel. We're going to see prophets that happen in the latter years of the kingdom of Israel. That'd be the northern kingdom and also the kingdom of Judah. And prophets are going to have specific ministries to those regions. You're going to read some prophets that are going to be just for the northern kingdom, and you're going to have some prophets that are just for the southern kingdom, and then you're going to have a few prophets that are going to do both. Isaiah is one of those guys that actually writes to just Judah and Jerusalem, as it says in chapter 1, a vision concerning Judah and Jerusalem. And this is happening during the reign of King Uzziah, which is, by the way, roughly about 750 years before Jesus. So you can see that this is still quite a ways away before Jesus even comes, before we start to get into the idea of the modern world. Now, most theologians will tell you that Isaiah is the guy that wrote the book. There are a few people that'll tell you, well, he wrote the whole thing, and they might give some arguments as to whether or not he did or didn't. Most people will say Isaiah wrote the whole book, and even in the New Testament, when you hear references to Isaiah, they're quoting from all over the book of Isaiah, and so they're not necessarily, they're not saying, hey, this is part of the book that was about Isaiah. This is written by Isaiah. And also Isaiah is credited with writing another book that we don't actually have record of in Second Chronicles, a chronicle of King Uzziah. Now, Isaiah is a contemporary of a couple of other prophets that we're going to be looking at some point, and that is Amos and also Hosea and Micah. And so we're going to have conversations, and there'll be some parallels between those books, and so they'll be talking about a lot of the same things. That's one of the other things that you're going to have to be really cautious and careful of when you read the books of the prophets is you might get a little bored at times because of some of the repetition. The repetition is there very simply because this is God continuing to warn over and over again. So rather than look at these books as, oh my goodness, not another warning about this, look at it as God pleading yet again for his people to listen. It's like someone begging over, it's like my child begging over and over and over again, please gonna have us spend the night, please gonna have us spend the night, please gonna have us spend the night. And much like me being a mean parent saying, no, you can't, the people of Israel said, we're not going to listen, God. And so ultimately judgment will come and it will happen. Now, some of the history of this that we need to pay attention to and recognize is that this is at this time, there is a split. There is the northern kingdom of Israel and there is the southern kingdom of Judah. Okay? And during this time, this is when the Assyrian Empire is starting to really rise. And you start hearing about King Tiglath-Pileser III. Okay, and they have come in and they've swept in the kingdoms that are around Israel, and Israel is becoming more and more weak. Okay, now the king of Judah, Uzziah, asked Israel, hey, let's team up and let's do this. And instead, Ahaz, the king at the time of Israel, decides to ask for help. And in 701 BC, King Sennacherib threatened and destroyed the kingdom of Israel. And now they've taken over and they're starting to assail the kingdom of Judah. This is something that Isaiah is warning about, but also Isaiah will bring about hope, and we're going to see the first of the messianic prophecies begin. This is a very important thing, and one of the common phrases that you're going to see all throughout Isaiah, it's a beautiful phrase, the Holy One of Israel. Pay attention to that. Isaiah is also going to use a lot of the phrase of the day of the Lord, and he's going to talk about the sovereignty of God over and over and over again. Yet we're also going to see God's compassion for his people. And he's going to bring about the promise. He's going to start bringing the promises that are eventually going to be fulfilled by Jesus as the Messiah. But we'll tackle those in a future date. Okay, that's kind of our introduction to Isaiah. As you get into it, enjoy both the story and the poetry. It's a combined book of Isaiah and all of the chapters and books in Isaiah. Okay, that's it for today. We'll talk more and dive into those books tomorrow.